As Hispanic communities have grown in the U.S., so has their political clout, and who they vote for could determine who becomes the next U.S. president. One of the biggest Latino civil rights organizations is currently meeting in the west coast city of San Diego, and both John McCain and Barack Obama plan to address that meeting. We are joined now by Cecilia Munoz from the National Council of La Raza, which has been holding its meeting in San Diego, California. Hello.
Hi.
Is the Latino vote up for grabs? And if so, what do the candidates have to do to get it?
The Latino vote is absolutely up for grabs. We're classic swing voters. We go from roughly 20% supporting a Republican presidential candidate to maybe 40. Republican candidate needs 40% of the vote in order to win. And so both of these candidates are coming to our conference, and they have some work to do to really gain the Hispanic vote.
What are the key issues, do you think? Obviously, immigration would be one, but I've read some things that from your organization that say that the war in Iraq should be addressed by both men as well.
There are polls showing that Latinos care very much about the war in Iraq, are very concerned. A lot of our folks are there fighting, and that is a major concern. But the economy is a major concern, education and health care, as well as immigration.
Do you think there's too much arguing and rhetoric on the immigration issue? The stances have changed, people saying things, people not saying things that are expected. What are your thoughts on the way immigration is being addressed by both men?
The rhetoric on immigration in the media has been completely overheated, but both of these candidates have been supporters of the kind of comprehensive reform that Latinos support.
Earlier, I spoke with Dr. Thomas Farr, a professor of religion and world affairs at Georgetown University in Washington, and Dr. Judy Jasser, who is the president of the American Islamic Forum on Democracy. I began by asking Dr. Farr what role he thought religion would play in this year's election.
Well, I think this will depend, of course, on the individual, but to the extent that people want to vote on the basis of religion, I think it's entirely natural. It's thoroughly American. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. I think people need to be discerning in the way they vote, whether they're voting on the basis of religion, economics, or otherwise. There are a whole host of reasons in the way I vote and the way most Americans vote, but religion is part of the mix. It's very American.
Can people be expected to vote still here in 2008 on their faith and their values in some kind of a block, or can factors like the economy and immigration and the war and all the touch points be more of an influence this time around? Dr. Jasser, let me ask you that first of all.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I come down a little stronger on the fact that, remember, our country was formed on the escape of religious persecution, and I really think it's important, and America is really a shining example of the separation between religion and politics.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, there has been a fundamentalist Christian bloc in the past, and just about always supported the Republicans. Certainly 80% voted for Bush last time. Do you think that religion should play a factor in terms of bloc votes?
Well, I don't think it's a question of should it. It's a question of does it. In fact, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think people vote their consciences based on what they think is important.
Let me just talk about Islamophobia. It's a phrase that's been coined lately, certainly in this election campaign. Does Barack Obama suffer from Islamophobia, the false rumors that he's Muslim? Does it matter? Should it matter if he is Muslim? Has he addressed that correctly? Is there still a misperception out there? And will that be a factor in the way people vote?
Well, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Jasser.
Yeah, I think it's important to separate the issue in that what's sometimes labeled as Islamophobia is actually a phobia of political Islam, which really does threaten the security of our nation. And I think part of the problem is, you know, you have a candidate that hasn't really made it clear where he stands in a strategy against global transnational Islamism or political Islam and its fuel of terrorism. And because of that, the inability to address that issue, people are wondering where he stands.